Today I will talk about both Dragon Ball FighterZ and Dragonball Sparking Zero and determine which is a better Dragon Ball Z game. In this video I will focus on these three major factors: gameplay, content, and competitive versus casual. Let's start with competitive versus casual. In Sparking Zero you can do some crazy combos and cool stuff like beam clashes, vanishing, etc. And considering how new this game is, people are still discovering new things you can do in this game. However, with how many interruptions there are in this game, such as perception, with how unbalanced the roster is, and with how the overall gameplay is, this game is meant to be a casual game. A game where you sit down with your boys, play for hours on end, try out a bunch of different characters, try to pull off some cool shit, etc. And this game isn't hard either. It's very easy to pick up and play. And if you know how to play one character, you basically know how to play every character in the game. Dragon Ball FighterZ isn't exactly like that. Although it's not too difficult and it's something you can play with your boys for hours, it's a lot more competitive. The game uses traditional fighting game inputs, which can make it harder for casuals to get into. Plus, every character in this game is unique. Although there are some transferable skills when going from one character to the next, it's not as easy as Sparking Zero. And if you try fighting opponents online, you will face a lot of sweaty tryhards that have put hours into the lab, perfecting combos, mastering defense, constantly learning new tech, etc. DBFZ is more of a competitive game, while Sparking Zero is more of a casual game. Now, because one is competitive while the other is casual, that doesn't mean one is better than the other. That depends on you, the player, and what you prefer. If you want more of a competitive game, you might find DBFZ to be more enjoyable. But if you don't want to sweat your balls off and you just want to kick back and chill, then Sparking Zero is your type of game. But let's move on to the next category, which is content. So DBFZ, to be honest, doesn't really have much content or any good content at all. The story mode is okay. It's a unique story mode that introduced a new character to the series, which is Android 21, but it's pretty fucking boring if I'm being completely honest. This game does have an arcade mode, which I completely forgot if I'm being 100% honest. Training mode, which is obvious, tournament mode, offline mode, plus online mode. That's it for all your content. Single player content is non-existent, since the single player content is shit and doesn't really have any replayability. So your content basically in this game is to go to the training mode and practice in the lab, and then eventually get bent over by sweaty tryhards online. But after catching a couple L's, you will eventually get better and win more matches. And if you're a competitive player, online mode will be the only mode you actually care about playing and will keep you entertained for hours. Sparking Zero, on the other hand, has a lot more content. Just like DBFZ, it also has a story mode, tournament mode, offline mode, online mode, plus training mode, of course. But Sparking Zero story mode, in my opinion, is better. Although many cutscenes aren't animated like DBFZ, the fact that you can play the story mode from different characters' perspectives and make choices in-game that could change the outcome of the DBFZ timeline is a pretty cool concept. Now, although it doesn't have arcade mode, Sparking Zero offers something much better, which is custom battles. It's a mode where you can make your own cutscenes, scenarios, fights, etc. Kinda like Mario Maker, but DBZ. You can play your own custom battles, or you can play what others created online. If you're a casual, you will enjoy this mode. But if you're someone that doesn't care too much about single player content and would rather play multiplayer, then you have the online mode for you. In my opinion, Sparking Zero crushes DBFZ in terms of content for both single player and multiplayer. That being said, I just wish offline mode let us play other stages besides Hyperbolic Time Chamber, but hopefully the devs will change that sooner than later. The last factor is gameplay. Sparking Zero, being the casual game, has a lot of mechanics in this game where it can make it easy for players and anyone to pick up and play, to be honest. Now, in my opinion, a game being easy isn't a problem because it welcomes more players and can greatly improve the size of the player base. But I do have a problem with some of the mechanics in this game. Combos are really fun and easy to do, and it looks really fucking cool as well. But there are so many defensive mechanics in this game where your opponent can interrupt your combo and turn the tables around you. Now, you can also do the same thing to your opponent, but sometimes it'll get to a point where you're just countering one another and sometimes aren't even doing full combos. That might sound like a pain in the ass to constantly deal with, but it's actually kind of cool because it sort of resembles how the fights are done in the anime, so it makes you feel like you're also in the anime, which again adds to the casual aspect of the game. Now, although it is cool, for me it does get dragged on a lot, where it can make the game sometimes unenjoyable to play. Dragon Ball FighterZ, on the other hand, is a completely different type of game. This is a traditional 2D fighting game. Think of Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. It's harder to get into, but once you know how it works, it can be really fun and really rewarding. You have easy universal combos, but you also have really hard combos that require specific timing, precise inputs, spacing, key management, etc. But when you master those combos, it's really satisfying and rewarding. There are even defensive mechanics in this game as well, but it's nowhere near as annoying as Sparking Zero. Plus, defense in this game isn't as easy, and mastering the art of defense is an entire skill of itself. It's also a team battle game like Sparking Zero, but unlike Sparking Zero where you can sort of choose how many players you want on your team, DBFZ is a fixed 3v3 game. The pace of this game is also a lot faster than Sparking Zero. Overall, there are a lot of things DBFZ does with its gameplay where it makes it a lot more of a competitive game than Sparking Zero. But now we come to the conclusion, which game is better, Sparking Zero or Dragon Ball FighterZ? And to be honest, as annoying this might be, there is no one right answer. You might have predicted this and probably anticipated what I'm about to say, but the answer to this question depends on you. What kind of player are you? Are you someone that likes casual games or competitive games? Do you prefer single player content, or is the only mode you care about online where you can fight opponents around the world? If you're a casual that doesn't want to try too hard and wants to spend a couple hours of your day gaming, then Sparking Zero is your type of game. If you have a competitive nature and don't mind putting in hours to grind and try to get better, then for you it's DBFZ. Or maybe you're an outlier. For example, maybe you're a casual player but prefers Dragon Ball FighterZ because you find its gameplay to be more superior. In fact, that's actually me. I've put 1,000 hours in Dragon Ball FighterZ, and although I haven't played that game in maybe a year or two, and I have transitioned from being a competitive gamer to a casual gamer, I still find DBFZ to be the better game for me over Sparking Zero because I've had more fun playing that game. Although I do enjoy Sparking Zero and it's my main game right now, I've been annoyed many more times playing this game. But at the same time, I don't see myself going back to Dragon Ball FighterZ anytime soon either, because maybe, I don't know, I'm burnt out. But hey, that's just me. Your reason can be different.